Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Be Like Christ for our 2 Kings chapter 8 Bible study. Sorry, my face is missing today. I had to film this record it really late in the evening due to some other responsibilities that I had, and so my face is going to be missing. But Lord willing, it will be back tomorrow. Okay, 2 Kings chapter 8. The PDF is available online if you want to download it for yourself. Same PDF that I'm reading off of. Our when section, when did these events happen historically? The events of 2 Kings chapter 8 probably took place between 900 to 880 BC, somewhere within those two dates, that window. We've got several main characters to talk about. This chapter's really got quite a variety in it. First, we have Elisha. He's the prophet of God. Then we have Gehazi, who was Elisha's servant, at least for a certain period of time. Then a Shunammite woman. This was a really generous woman who extended hospitality to Elisha during his travel. She actually built an addition onto her house for Elisha's purposes. Hazael, he became the king of Syria after killing Ben-hadad. And then Jehoram, also known as Joram, he became the king of Judah after Jehoshaphat. And finally, Ahaziah, he became the king of Judah after Joram. We're quite spread out all over our map today. The first place we're going to go is Shunem. The Shunammite woman was from Shunem. Maybe you could have guessed that. Then we're going to go all the way to the top of the map to Damascus. Hazael speaks to Elisha in this chapter in the city of Damascus. And then finally, the city of Jerusalem. This was the capital of Judah, and this would have been where Jehoram and Ahaziah reigned over the nation of Judah. Now we can move over to page number 2 and talk about our outline. In verses 1 through 6, we're going to talk about a famine in the land of Israel and the restoration of the Shunammite woman's property. You may remember in chapter 4, the author of 2 Kings introduces us to a Shunammite woman whose son Elisha raised from the dead. Well, this chapter opens with Elisha warning this same Shunammite woman about a famine that was going to afflict her homeland. And so to evade this famine, she moved to the land of the Philistines for 7 years. Now afterwards, she returned to Shunem, and she made an appeal to the king to receive her land back, because evidently someone had taken possession of it or claimed it in her absence. Well, it so happened, probably by the providence of God, that when the woman came to make this request of the king was actually talking to Gehazi, who was Elisha's servant who knew the Shunammite woman. You may remember Gehazi. He was Elisha's servant for a period of time, up until the time that he lied to Elisha about taking money from Naaman, who Elisha had healed from leprosy. You can read about that in chapter 5, I believe. So Gehazi had been Elisha's servant when he met this Shunammite woman, and he recognized her as she was there before the king, and he told the king that this was the woman whose son had been raised from the dead by the prophet. So the king granted her request, gave her all of her land back, and ordered that all the produce of the field from the time that she left be returned to her. And so I think we're meant to see this as God providentially caring for this woman and rewarding her for the generosity that she had previously shown to his prophet. This next section, we're going to talk about a change of power in the kings of Syria. Verses 7 through 15, Hazael murders Ben-hadad of Syria. So Ben-hadad, who was the king of Syria, he was sick, and he sent his servant named Hazael to ask Elisha if he was going to recover from this sickness. Elisha answered in a really interesting way. Elisha confirmed that yes, he would recover from the sickness, but he would still die. So how does that make sense? Well, we'll figure it out in just a second. Elisha prophesied that Hazael would actually become the next king, and he foretold that he would do terrible things to the people of Israel. Well, Hazael returned to Ben-hadad, and he told Ben-hadad Elisha's message that yes, he would recover from the sickness. But the next day, in fulfillment of the second part of Elisha's prophecy, Hazael decided that, well, the king may get better from his sickness, but I'm actually going to kill him and claim the throne for myself. So that's exactly what he did. He decided to kill the king. He put a wet bedsheet over his face, and he murdered him. And in his place, Hazael became the king of Syria. So we've been following the political affairs of three nations somewhat closely: Syria, and then Israel, the northern kingdom of God's people, and the southern kingdom of Judah. Now we're going to turn to the southern kingdom of Judah and talk about some of the people who took the throne there. So verses 16 through 24, Jehoram becomes the king in Judah. In the 5th year of Joram's reign, he was the king over Israel, Jehoram, yeah, I know that's confusing, Jehoram became the king of Judah. He was 32 years old when he started his reign. He married the daughter of Ahab. Ahab had been the wicked king who had reigned in Israel for a long time. Well, Jehoram makes the mistake of marrying his daughter, right? And she influenced him seemingly in a negative way because he ended up being wicked like Ahab. So who took the throne after Jehoram? Well, Ahaziah. We're going to talk about his reign in verses 25 through 29. Ahaziah became king of Judah when he was 22 years old. His mother was Athaliah. Remember that name because she's going to come up again, not in a good way. The text says that he also followed the wicked example of Ahab, so he didn't do any better than the king who came before him, and he only reigned for 1 year in Jerusalem. And so his short reign is going to set us up for the stories that we're going to talk about in the next couple chapters. And so that is 2 Kings chapter 8. Let's talk about our application now. It flows pretty consistently with what we were just talking about. In the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 33, Paul says, "Do not be deceived. Bad company ruins good morals." It's extremely difficult to attach yourself to wicked people without being negatively affected yourself. The kings of Judah made peace with Ahab's household in the north, and they married into his family. But why would they do that? Ahab and Jezebel were extremely wicked people. Is it any surprise that Judah then suffered from bad kings while their rulers kept up this practice of marrying into and connecting with Ahab's family? No, it's not a surprise at all. So the application for us is keeping company with wicked people is not wise. You put your soul in a dangerous position when you constantly surround it with people who have no love and have no respect for God. So be careful with who you spend your time around and who your friends are, because they're going to have an impact on your soul.